Hang on, here we go.
Hi, everybody. So, on September 12th, the U.S. Census Bureau released the national poverty data in 2017, and it shows that 39.7 million Americans are poor in America. And in more generalized information, 12.3% of the whole population of America is poor, or at least 1 in 8 Americans are living in poverty. And even though 12.3% of Americans, even though the rate of 12.3% of Americans seems a little unalarming, it actually is, because it exceeds 11.3% out of only 2,000 Americans. So in simpler terms, you can say that there are way too many people living in poverty than there is rich. And in that defense, it brings on the question, so how do we as Americans deal with poverty? And in my main point, my solution, I'd say that in order to deal with poverty in America, Americans should fund in government fundings. And the main points that I will support is that the impact poverty has in the American economy and society, the how government funding is applied, and how it affects future youths. So in order to start in a more generalized term, I would poverty, the definition of poverty is being not able to attain the basic needs of survival, such as like clothes, food, housing, or even attaining a sustainable, livable wage of income. And so the impact poverty has in American economy is that it costs us billions of dollars annually. For child poverty alone, it costs about $500 billion each year, and that is going into criminal justice expenditures, healthcare costs, and healthcare. And the impact poverty has on a social level. So if you are less likely to afford the basic standards of living, you are more likely to withdraw from society, withdrawing from participating in social events. And in the use of government funding that applies in like Social Security. It applies in federal taxes like free lunch systems, and just community funding as well. And 21 Social Security alone helps around 21.4 million people, and 14.5 amount of people are usually senior citizens, and it also applies for like 2.3 million people alone. So that's how much poverty or government funding affects that amount of Americans. And with that alone, investing in government funding can also help aid child poverty. And the Economic Policy Institute states that children who live in poverty tend to earn the same earnings as they did as their parents. And that says a lot because they are limited to opportunities that aren't the same as people who live on a livable income. And if we provide more funding and investments in government funding, we can help widen opportunities and future generations. And in conclusion, living in America today is important because poverty has a massive effect in America, in our economy, and in our society as well. And thanks.
Some words, please.
At the beginning, your eye contact was pretty good, but after that, you started like looking down.
Hang on a second. The recorder will not be able to pick this up with all of the conversation in the background, so we'll wait until everybody can quiet down.
Okay.
There, that sounds good.
So I think in the beginning, where your eye contact was pretty good, but after that, you started looking down like that, started looking at other places, and then you did pretty okay, but then you started like pausing and stuttering a little bit. And then I think I ended a little better, like the conclusion, instead of just like saying thank you. And that's it.
Okay, so nothing on the content.
No.
Okay. All right, well, I like the statistics that you have at the beginning talking about poverty. I think that identifies your subject. It does so in a way that creates a compelling reason to listen. The numbers got a little bit confusing at one point, but the idea that there's a lot of poverty, I think that you sold that pretty well. Your goal is to deal with poverty in some way, but I'm not sure exactly what it is that you say we ought to be doing. You say government funding, but down below you tell us that we're already spending $500 billion on programs for child poverty in healthcare and other programs. There's no discussion of whether or not the programs work or don't work. You mentioned Social Security, and I'm going, well, we're already spending money on that, so that addresses the issue of poverty apparently as well. So what is it that you want us to believe or do that is different or requires us to be convinced? I don't really know. If you're suggesting that our existing poverty programs are inadequate, that they aren't fixing the problems, make that your claim. So then we can follow your argument and say the amount of money that we're spending is not sufficient, or the programs don't work, they don't get us the outcomes that we're looking for, or people get trapped in a cycle that they never get out of and we have to find a way to break that cycle. But we don't really get that. We get kind of a listing of what, how many people are in poverty in different categories, what some of the costs of that poverty is, but I don't really get any sense that there's something that you're trying to convince me of, that this seems like it's sort of random information. So I think your argument is not very clear. I don't know what it is you want me to believe. You say government funding, and I'm saying, well, what about it? Should it be more? Should it be less? Should it be different? I don't know at the end of your presentation what it is that you want me to believe, and that's a problem. The presentation issues, I think Mala picked out a couple of things that are probably true. I think your eye contact was better at the beginning, and it dropped down quite a bit as you went on. Sometimes that's because you were trying to remember what it is you were going to say. Your gestures got a little bit repetitive. You basically kind of do the hand-holding sort of thing, and that's about as far as you get in engaging us. Your voice, though, I think projects pretty well, and I think there's a nice quality to it, but you need to have a stronger argument. And the conclusion of the speech needs to kind of sell an idea to us, and I don't know what the idea is that you want us to believe, so that's problematic. Thank you.